All right, good evening. Let's call this meeting to order at 7 p.m. We're going to start with a salute to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please join me in a moment of silent reflection. Thank you. Sunshine Law notice. In accordance with the provisions of the Open Public Meetings Act, public meetings may be held in person or by means of communication equipment to include streaming services or other online meeting platforms. This meeting is being held in person or through the Zoom meeting platform being broadcast from Borough Hall, 748 River Road, Fairhaven, New Jersey. Public participation for this regular council meeting of November 25th, 2024 is available by call-in phone number or through web conference Zoom. Members of the public will be on mute until it is time for questions or comments, which will be announced. At that time, the public has the opportunity to question or comment by phone or through Zoom by the raise hand button and will be called on at the appropriate time. Notice of this meeting was included in the schedule of meetings, which was adopted by resolution number 2024-13, sent to the Asbury Park Press and the Two River Times on January 4th, 2024. Posted on the borough website, the bulletin board in the municipal building, it has remained continuously posted as required under the statute. With adequate notice having been given, Borough Clerk is directed to include this statement in the minutes of this meeting. Allison, may I please have a roll call?
Councilmembers Cole?
Yes.
Pinistelli?
Yes.
Hoey? Koch?
Here.
Barbara? Olson?
Here. Thank you. Chief McGovern, did you have a request tonight?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. First, I'd like to thank the Mayor, Council, Board Administrator, Borough Attorney, Borough Clerk, for the opportunity to bring this to you. And, we met before. It was a hard process. We had some great candidates. And tonight I ask you to, consider, the appointment of Operational Patrolman Kevin Kyle. Kevin's here with us tonight. His mom, dad, his rest of his family, his girlfriend is here. And I ask for, you to, pass a resolution to appoint him.
Thank you, Chief. You want to have a say before we ask for a motion?
So moved. Second.
Allison, may I please have a roll call?
Councilmembers Cole?
Yes.
Pinistelli?
Yes.
Koch?
Yes.
Olson?
Yes.
Kevin comes to us from, Seagirt. He was there for about a year, 2 years, and, his, chief from Seagirt, Chief Mack was here tonight. I actually wanted to say something about him real quick.
Absolutely.
Mayor Council, Justin Macco, Chief of Police in the Borough of Seagirt. We like to do this, we call it kind of like a handoff when our officers, our part-time officers leave us to go on a full-time employment. As Chief McGovern said, Kyle's been with us the last 2 years. 1 year as a class 1, went to the Atlantic County Police Academy this year. That's a triumph in itself. He drove every day down to Southern Atlantic County to go to the academy on his own. With another recruit, he's actually in the room tonight. Graduated top of his class down in Atlantic County, served a great summer for us in the borough of Seagirt. I actually referred to him, I think his parents know, I referred to him as the human golden retriever. But in talking to Chief McGovern, we were saying how our communities are so similar in terms of our population and what our issues are. I don't think there's a better candidate you could have picked tonight to be sworn as a patrolman. So Kevin, on behalf of Seagirt, before you take your oath, here's a chief's coin and a little certificate for you for your service with us. Thanks.
Thank you.
Whoever, would like to come up, hold Bible for, yeah.
I,
I,
Kevin Kyle,
Kevin Kyle,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support
that I will support
the Constitution
the Constitution
of the United States
of the United States
and the Constitution
and the Constitution
of the State of New Jersey,
of the State of New Jersey,
that I will bear
that I will bear
true faith
true faith
and allegiance
and allegiance
to the same
to the same
and to the governments
and to the governments
established
established
in the United States
in the United States
and in this state,
and in this state,
under the authority
under the authority
of the people,
of the people,
and that I will
and that I will
faithfully,
faithfully,
impartially,
impartially,
and justly
and justly
perform the duties
perform the duties
of patrolman
of patrolman
according
according
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
And I just want to thank the mayor and council, for the opportunity. Thanks, just for going in here. Thank you, appreciate it. Thank you. Yeah, yeah, go on.
All right, thank you. Sounds good.
Gonna get some pictures?
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank
How are you?
Thank you. Great night, guys. Thank Thank you very much.
Rest of your meeting goes fast.
We are. Are we on? Okay. All right, sorry, the attorney, so we'll disrupt the meeting. We'll get going again here. All right, next up, we have a workshop session. We're gonna go over Jake's Law Grant. Kristen, can you take us through Jake's Law Grant?
Sure. So the rec committee has, is here tonight, well, part of us are here tonight to request, a good part of us are here tonight, to request, the council's approval, and support for the rec committee to move forward in applying for a grant that would enable us to build a new playground, at Sickle School on McCarter Park. The playground would be partially funded by a Green Acres grant. And the grant specifically is cited around what's called Jake's Law or an inclusive playground. And this has been the third, I believe, funding round that the state has put forth. Many of our neighboring towns have pursued this grant, have been awarded the grant, and we would like to do the same. One note, before we kind of get into the details of that, is that this is the last year that Green Acres is going to put forth Jake's Law as it is now, meaning that it's going to be a separate component of Green Acres funding, which enables us to apply for a grant and have it not be competitive. So, municipalities can apply for anywhere between $550 to $750. We'd like to apply for this full $750. If we meet the requirements, which we, or, will likely do, we would receive the full $750. In your packet, I'll just go into the details here. You'll see just a copy of the grant summary, the template that we normally put together for council to review. So you'll see at the beginning, our statement of need, which pretty much summarizes the fact that the current playground that we have is over 20 years old. When we do have to replace certain parts, we've found that A, they're expensive, or B, they don't exist. So in conversations with the rec committee, and also in conjunction with members of the PTA, we feel as though this is the right time to sort of capitalize on the fact that we have a young population moving into town. We've had the highest kindergarten class last year, I think, on record. We want to provide the right playground to meet the needs of Fairhaven going forward. We also included some of the specs and sort of site plan, as you can kind of see the visuals. So you'll see some pictures that demonstrate what this playground would look like. DJ Breckenridge, director of our Parks and Rec department, has done an excellent job of really going out to market and getting speaking with several vendors, not only on playgrounds, but on surfacing as well, to get a feel for what types of playgrounds counties are putting in right now. And so you'll see some themes around inclusive playgrounds. You wouldn't necessarily know an inclusive playground is an inclusive playground, with the exception of the fact that you'll see the surface is handicap accessible. You'll see some sensory items on the actual playground. You'll see some sensory items on the actual playground, that make it user-friendly for students at all levels and all abilities. And the idea behind this is to keep the playground situated such that all of the children are playing together. There's no apparatus that's off on the other side of the park. There's no, there's no location where one child or a group of children is playing together. The idea is to keep everyone together. And in doing so, part of the stipulation of the grant is that we would need to put in this pour and play surface, as you can see in the pictures. And we would also need to put in some sort of border around the playground. So whether that be a fence or some shrubbery, that there are sort of two stipulations that are non-negotiable as it relates to the grant. DJ and I both participated in the introductory sort of kickoff call 2 weeks ago. The process is moving fairly quickly. There's a couple of things that we need to do if we wanted to move forward. So one of them being coming to council, having it on record that we had a workshop session with all of you, and with your approval, the next step in this process would be for us to open this up to the public and have some sort of open forum. DJ has also already done a great job of working with the PTA, with the administration at Sickle School. I know I'm forgetting other people that I spoke with. Oh my God, there's others, but I'm sorry. We also covered Friends of Fairhaven, Maggie Barber's group as well, so they had the opportunity to give input from a needs perspective. So we've had some initial conversations. We have a member here of the PTA. We also have DJ, if I'm forgetting anything, and obviously Councilwoman Koch has been intimately involved in this as well. As you'll see on the application side, we did include some details around funding. Important to note that all of the engineering will be done in-house with our head of engineering. So all the upfront site work as it relates to clearing, grading and drainage, creating accessible walkways, anything that we need to do in terms of site restoration will be done in-house. Many of the communities next to us or around us had actually gone out and hired an outside architect north of $100K that they spent on that. We'd like to do all that work in-house and obviously save the cost. The vendor themselves would install the playground, and we would have a playground inspector on site throughout the process to make sure that everything is ADA compliant and safe from a safety perspective. And you'll see from a funding perspective, what we'd like to do, you just see under funding source, assuming we get the full amount, which again, if we meet the criteria, we would. We'll receive that $750. We're gonna take some money, that we have, that we need to put to use from Community Appeals and the Recreation Trust. We also have, some funds left over from a 2022 bond ordinance that are meant to be put forth for recreation capital. And we've been having some ongoing conversations with PTA and the Board of Ed, given the fact that their students are the ones that will be the main users of the playground. So that's really the funding source. We do anticipate this being a fairly costly endeavor, and never in my wildest years did I think that a playground would cost $700,000, but it does. And then when you put together, the surfacing, whatever sort of, buffer or fence we put in, and in all of the site work that needs to be done, we're looking at a fairly significant amount of around $1.1 million. So if we apply for the grant this year, the deadline is February 5th of 2025. We'd likely get the funding in the summer of 2025, and be able to put those funds to use, hopefully ASAP.
Meaning like, would the goal be to do this in the fall next year if this was approved?
I think at the earliest we could.
That would be the goal.
Yeah.
Was that during school? Or would it be done by school?
I don't know if it'd be done by school. I don't know. It's a good question. I can ask. Little Silver received their funds, I believe, in July,
That's correct, yes.
so it would be tight.
Do they have theirs by school?
Well, theirs is not, so this playground that Sickles did is a Sickles Market Playground.
Oh,
Yeah, so it's not attached to the school.
Connected to the school.
Yeah.
Ready for a few questions?
Absolutely.
I see that it makes it sound as if it's gonna improve drainage. Is the surface porous?
It's
Or-
called pour in place.
Must be porous.
It's,
But the
No,
water
you
goes,
pour it, not
no,
porous.
pour in place. If you
Is
pour
it,
the
is it
rubber.
permeable? It's a-
It has
that's
to
what I
be.
meant. Did I say that not properly?
No,
I don't think it is.
yeah, I don't believe it is.
So the water stays on top and then rolls to a certain area?
Yeah.
And is Rich?
Yeah.
Here,
If you design that, do you design it so it rolls to drainage in the ground? Is that?
so we put an allowance in the cost estimate to take care of any drainage improvements that need to be done, because this is something we've been battling with the existing, playground apparatus that's currently there. Everything sheet flows from west to east. We do have drainage within the site that we put in years ago, so we do have something to tie into, so there may be a combination of some yard drains or a catch basin to try to intercept some of this. We could look at even recharging it or looking at other alternative means, maybe some type of green infrastructure, but from a grant perspective, I needed to consult and say, we need to do something. It's not just a matter of removing or replace the playground. We need to take care of the drainage prior to the install. So that was the allowance that we put in there.
So, okay, understood. And then, what does that do for, you got some mature trees there that are, up there in age? Do we design it in a way that spares the maximum trees possible, I'm assuming?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay.
We even put in the narrative that topography lends itself where it is fairly flat. And that is part of the problem. Water pools and tends to sit in that area. So we would obviously maintain the tree canopy. That is an actual requirement of this type of playground design.
There is
Need a
canopy.
certain amount of shade.
Yeah.
And that can be either via tree canopy and or some of these apparatuses have shade structure or canvas built in for them. So obviously, we've got a pretty good head start with that.
Okay.
With the shade.
Kristen, is this an example, or is this the design
This
we
is,
landed on?
this is design we landed
Does
on.
it have to be that color ground? In other words, can we do the ground? Yes.
Yes, we just picked these blues and these
Right.
greens. and
The colors aren't set.
Yeah, no, that's way
It's
down
just
the road.
Design of the equipment.
Right.
You think
And
it looks hot?
I just,
Yeah.
for a park that's
Yeah.
very natural,
Yeah.
you don't see many, I think I can think of one football field anywhere that's blue. I kind of feel the same way that you'd probably want a green or a brown there to make it more of a natural look. At least for the ground. I'm not saying for the equipment. I realize, whatever everyone decides on that. And then not that I'm set in stone, I would just voice to the council, I'd probably prefer shrubs. Although I realize over time those shrubs are gonna get bigger and bigger and maybe be a little bit more difficult to maintain.
Yeah, I mean, that's respectful.
I'm wondering though, from a look standpoint, natural park, do you want a random fence in the middle of a park? I don't know. I don't know what that would look like.
And it doesn't necessarily have to be a chain link fence, like it could be,
No, yeah.
you know,
What could it be? Could it
It
be
could
like
be
the
any-
wood fence that we have at
Yeah.
Fairman Fields?
yeah.
Maybe that would be,
You could even do
Or
split
you-
that
rail.
might be nice,
Yeah, split ground fabric like we have right now at Park Park
Yeah,
right?
on
It
the,
would be a combination.
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
and it could be a combination of both, yeah.
It doesn't have to be completely a closed off
I understand.
space.
It
Like
just
that-
has to prevent children from running or skating, yeah.
What are the,
Not skating. that's not-
They're loping, they're loping.
so what are the terms of this grant? What are, I,
Boundaries, and the school has been working very strongly this year on, they took our park and created safe play spaces, so now the kids have like a specific zone of the Carter Park that's for each different activity that they can choose to do, so this does tie into that same mentality of
Could you
creating,
just-
like, this is this space for this.
Could you just give your name and your address?
Sorry, Lauren Porter, 87 West Lane, I'm about to run out the door, so if anyone has a question for me, I have to do a quick record.
so my last question is, obviously it's a grant, obviously there's expectations, one of which is the fence. How will those expectations follow us? You know, 10 years from now, tree falls on a fence, you kind of decide at that point. I'm not saying why, but we don't want the fence there anymore. We have to pay any money back to them, or is this an unconditional grant once we have it and, you know? Or do we know if there's any other
No,
conditions?
because you don't even have to use fence. You have to have a barrier.
To
whether it
start,
be
But
landscape.
if someone has a pool and they have a fence and the fence goes down, they have to replace the fence.
Right.
That's what I'm saying is how long are we
Obligated to have.
bound by the terms of the
Well,
grant?
as long as it's probably there,
We would continue to have
continue
it.
to have some.
And
There
we-
needs some type of barrier.
Okay,
So if the fence was to get destroyed and we opt not to go with a fence, we decide to go with a hedgerow, you know, we could replace it with a hedgerow, provided, you know, we have some type of barrier around the playground.
okay, and I'm assuming based on the funding sources here, all of those funding sources are supporting this design and proposal?
Correct, and Lauren is here from the PTA, and just quickly to take you through, this is by no means a final design, this is just kind of where we're at now, so we have something to present. And the way that we got this done is we worked with the playing park, who's a vendor out of Long Island, they came on site, they walked it with us. Councilman Hogue was out there, the principal from Sickle School was out there, a few other reps at the time came out. Walked it, gave recommendations on what they would recommend. And then we actually got a handful of different all-inclusive playgrounds that they've installed recently in the tri-state area. And we gave them to the rec committee, to the PTA, and to Sickle School Principal Schwartz. And said, hey, out of these different options, which ones do you like? And even more so, can you name out all the specifics that you would want in a playground that would serve the population, not just in 2025, but for the next 20 years? So that, all that information that we got from those three groups is what went into making this.
Yeah, absolutely, I support it though.
Yeah, I mean, I'm fully in support of this. I had a couple questions. There is going to be a phase at which the community participates in the process, and Kristen mentioned this to me. And it seems, it might be helpful, I don't know who is the facilitator for that discussion. But it might be helpful to have a representative from the vendor that's helped you get to this point so far. Because there's some technical considerations that, folks might not know on their own, you know, but it might help to move the conversation and decisions along. And then I was curious about the current balance of the rec trust fund. Do you know that off the top of your head?
So it's a little over, Nancy's here, but I believe it's a little over 100. Anytime that we have profits, after our expenses are taken into consideration for things like the rec and crew summer camp, the dances, which are a profit maker for us, those go back into the rec trust. And there
Okay,
are some programs and events that we draw down on that from. But over the years, because we're making more with those events and those camps, now that money is at such a point where it would make sense to start to draw down on that.
Just to correct you, the programs are not profit makers.
Well,
They are not profit makers.
So they're not created to make a profit.
But there are more
They're
revenues
not
than
created to make a profit.
Right.
That's all I'm saying.
But that's where the money comes from.
That's.
Thank you.
So currently there is, in the rec trust general programs account, there is an available balance of $118,153. And in the community appeals, trust account, there is $22,119 and $119.
Thank you, Nancy.
Yep.
That's really the only questions I had, and I'll defer to the community in that process that's at some point after the grant award or whenever that occurs, but I think this will serve very, very, very well. I'm glad you're seizing the opportunity and have explored it. Mhm.
I do have a question. I have definitely supported. Thank you for doing all this work. This would have to go to bid though, correct?
Right, so we're not married to that vendor by any means.
Yeah.
That we have been working so far to get to this, but Rich does suggest that it goes out to the,
Okay.
even though they are under state contract, but because there's so many different ancillary pieces to it, Rich thinks that would be best practice.
Okay. When you say that so it doesn't absorb any water, so it just like hits it and sits there?
Just for reference, we have this playground material, the surfacing at the smaller playground right now,
Got it.
that the
Okay.
board that helped to pay for 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah.
So it is, we do have it out there, just to kind of give you. that.
Does it like kind of like go down at the sides? I mean, how does it work? I'm just wondering drainage, like how that works.
No, it's, it is exactly what they call it. It's a poured in place, so it cures in place.
Yeah.
It's rubberized. You put it in on a slight slope so that it can drain off,
Okay.
the apparatus and walk out to the boundaries. And that's about it. Yeah, there's a couple ways you can do it. You could do like a turtle bath.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
It's a splash pad.
I got you. It's slashed.
It might be a reason for a
Oh.
landscape
finally
buffer
gonna get one.
to help
Yeah.
mitigate this.
So what's the footprint of this versus what we have in like the two different spots? And it would all be one, correct?
So we wouldn't be touching the smaller apparatus.
So that would stay.
That's essentially brand new. for less than 5
Okay,
years old.
cool. Got it.
So that's staying there, and then this was modeled to have the exact same footprint as we have right now. Again, if we get that line, and it makes sense to maybe shrink it, and we can still serve it, the same population that we serve now, those are
Okay.
conversations.
It's the
That can be
area
had
where
the
the
design.
swings are, the tables,
Mhm.
and then the 5 to 12.
The larger apparatus, the higher screen.
Yeah, the tires. Yeah, no, this is awesome. Thank you.
Anyone else? Everyone, sounds like there's great board here, right? Yeah.
Fantastic.
So thank you to everyone. I mean, fantastic, fantastic,
Thank you so much.
fantastic. It's like Lauren's gone, fantastic. Very much appreciative of all the hard work, and I actually can't wait to see it, and the kids are gonna be thrilled. Yeah, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Nope. Next up, final landscape plan for DPW.
All right, I'll start with that. So just to give you a little background on this, Councilwoman Cole, Councilman LaBarbera and I, met with members of the residents who live on Maple Avenue, near the DPW site. There was concerns from the residents over there regarding the landscaping and the view of the vehicles, the view of the building, noise, from trucks idling in the morning. So they were looking for something to improve. We met with them, we heard their concerns. We used Chris Gammons with Collier's Engineer Design. They were on the meeting and discussed the concerns. One of the things that Chris had looked for, what their viewpoint is from the resident, from their houses themselves, and what they were looking to accomplish, what they were doing. He created a landscape plan for us, which everybody should have in their council packet. It's a little bit small. I have, Rich can help us here a little bit, and Tracy can help us define it a little bit. Give you an idea, one of the things we did, just to make sure that this plan would work here in Fairhaven, we had our certified tree expert, Shari Spiro, review the plan as well. Shari did recommend some changes and some different considerations to the plan, which they worked together in conjunction with Chris from Colliers to design a plan that would work well for Fairhaven. Attached is the plan that they recommended, with increased trees, shrubs, bushes. The one thing that is not on the plan, however, we have already discussed this with Paul Group and GS Ferguson, will be an 8-foot fence as well behind it. So I have an 8-foot board fence, which will also block out the building, block out some of the noise, so the residents have to look at the trucks, the headlights in the morning, and to improve their overall experience living by DPW. Tracy, would you like to add anything?
Just that, I mean, I'd like to compliment our team for being so responsive to the neighbors. They truly are grateful. I think the follow through is upon us, to make sure this gets in the ground in a timely manner. That we discussed offline, but what we're looking at here is really such an improvement to what is there now is vacant, really. We, as a result of something Councilman LaBarbera touched on a few meetings back, we had an unknown condition with 9 very large pine trees, and they were really blocking the bulk of the view there. So when we found out that the collar ties were still on them and strangling and an inevitable death, they were removed so that we could do a complete landscape plan. So Chris Gammon has designed really what is more like a very lovely suburban park-like design, which will not just, it will of course buffer their view, but it'll be more of an amenity. It's a lovely design. It's very gentle. There'll be, it's peppered with some ornamentals for color and seasonal variation. And of course, and most importantly, it's gonna buffer the view for the residents who were stunned, really. They were stunned when the trees came down, and now the light is on, so they can see everything in the DPW building when the light stays on. But this is gonna be a very much needed solution, and they're looking forward to it, so.
Yeah, just 2 things I just want to add real quick. One, yet again, we try to make this a collaborative process as possible. We hand delivered letters out to residents. We had as much community engagement as possible. Tracy, Drew, and I, along with Chris Gammons, we went out to the site and met and talked with everybody, so that they were involved in the process. And also, we did try to look at cost. The original landscape plan was quoted at about $9,800 for Collier's to engineer it. I was able to talk to them to get that pricing down, and in the end, the landscape plan cost us roughly around $2,900. So we had significant savings there of what it would have originally cost us to put the plan together.
And Chris, also, in the conversation with.
And Betsy, I'm sorry you were there too. I apologize.
That's okay, but in the conversation with the residents, they were very much interested in having it as low maintenance as possible. And I think that that's what Chris was able to achieve with his design.
Yes, and that was one, and I'm glad you brought that up. That's one of the reasons we involved Sherry Spiro from CME, be involved as well, because the important thing is survivability and for us to be able to sustain it as well. So she had some comments on there that improved that aspect with that point in mind. So we have something that is able to be maintained, that is going to have a survivability rate, and we're able to sustain it. So I'm pretty happy.
Who did this sheet? Yeah.
So what we were looking for is a cost estimate. That is not a quote. That was, we had Colliers put together cut sheets, so we know exactly what's gonna be planted. And then we had them put together a cost estimate of what it might cost to put that together. That's not what Hall has quoted us to do that. That's just an estimate of what the cost could be.
Okay, the math doesn't add up on that, just so you know.
Yeah.
It's like 73.9 is the subtotal. I hope they're better at designing.
I saw that as well,
landscaping than they
yes.
are in spreadsheets. We don't think that 31 trees is overkill for that area.
Well, one of the issues we run into, I mean, that is a pretty large space, and as far as blocking out blocking out visibility. I don't, looking at it, especially, with some of the drainage issues. The other thing too, we did find out originally, Paul had said that there was actually a berm there. When they took those trees out, there was not a berm there, so that's something else we came into as well.
So is that what the $30,000 worth of topsoil is for?
That's what the estimate would be, to create the berm.
To create a new berm.
Yes. Yeah, that was originally, a berm was there, but it turns out there wasn't one there.
Are these designs on the Borough website?
No, they're not. We want to do workshop first before posting anything.
So we will put it online.
We can do that effective tomorrow if you'd like.
Great, that'd be great.
Is there some sort of warranty? I assume there is. but it's-
Always,
Yeah,
yes.
like 5 years, 10.
Yeah, that would be from whomever ends up doing the plantings.
Yeah, go ahead, sorry.
No, is it okay? Go ahead.
Go ahead. Councilman. Sure.
So the question I have is, obviously, I think they need them, and I see where most of them are from. Are these native plant? Like, are these native?
That is.
Is that
something
Yes,
I do
they're
know.
largely native.
Okay.
There's some ornamentals.
I mean, I see that, but
Yeah.
mostly the ornamentals that are from Eastern.
Mhm. that they perform well in this area. That was a significant aspect of Sherry's function in making contributions to the landscape architect's design.
And where would this funding be coming from? How would this be
It's
paid?
part of the DPW project.
Yes.
Got it, so it's added, okay, so we have the money allotted for this, okay.
And just to add context, there was a landscape plan that was originally for Maple Avenue, so that this is not a new one. However, when they found that the berm wasn't there, and some of the shortcomings of that plan, so this is an enhancement of the original landscape.
What's the difference in cost then from this to the last one?
I don't have the cost quote, I could get that, but it is significantly higher.
I just want to point out, the money's in there, in other words, we have to reauthorize it, but if we don't spend it, we don't spend it, it's not like it's, you know,
Yeah.
going for a more expensive plan that ultimately costs our
Mhm.
taxpayers about, you know,
Yeah.
in the form of new tax, higher taxes.
So if it originally, let's say, cost 15 and now it's at 90, it's an additional 75.
So $75,000 that we're gonna have to finance.
Well, those are numbers. I would just say, because I remember the landscape plan, not in detail, like. This has additional plant material due to the absence of, you know, unanticipated 9 major buffer trees that were premature, probably 20 years or so. So. The new, I can't tell you the number of new actual trees, but the design is enhanced to accommodate additional plantings because we lost so many unexpectedly. The landscape architect did not have the final report from CME that called out the need to remove those extra 9 trees. So did we get 9 new ones? No, it's probably more than that, but I don't have that number for you.
Yeah, and the other thing to take into account too, again, they had originally thought there was a berm there, so regardless if we did this plan or not, we would have had to put another berm back in. So we would have had to pay, again, it's an estimate, the roughly 30,000 for a topsoil. So you're probably, looking at it, you're probably looking at a $40,000 increase for these additional trees. I'd say that'd be a fair number.
Can I ask you a question, Chris? You just, so we didn't have a berm before,
Well,
Right.
they had thought there was a berm
but
there.
what's the berm actually?
Yeah.
Explain that to me, 'cause what's that
So,
accomplishment?
so the berm was in there for the planning and the fence placement.
And it's in the vicinity of the salt dome on the corner. The idea with the berm, and I'm not the landscape architect, obviously, but the idea was that it was going to help to basically give additional height to the trees to continue this idea of buffering, not just visually, but noise and other things, but the salt dome is visible really from that.
So they're
entire-
planted on the berm, the trees
The
are
trees will
planted
be on the berm. There's a berm that's really on it's the, kind of takes in the corner and the, and the fence, right, exactly.
Because the
The fence will be
fence an extra.
Correct,
I,
yeah.
I realize my next question's stupid, but we're about to do the pocket parks. I'm sure we're gonna be doing some digging there. We can't just take some soil from there and make it less than $30,000.
That'd be a rich question.
We actually offered to the general contractor for all construction, we have material at the brush staging area.
Okay.
So they can at least use some of that as a base and. You know, you have to still prep where the plants and trees, you dig a hole and you have to put in some type of organics or. Peat moss or topsoil, but, and then you can cap it with topsoil, so there could be some savings there. We threw that out to them within the last month.
That's great to think
That would
about it.
help us out too.
Yeah.
We haven't.
You got somewhere to put it, yeah.
Cool.
That's good.
Anyone else have questions?
Yeah, and again, this is not the price, I just want to make it clear, this is not the price of what it would cost us. Again, the estimate we put in so you have an idea,
Would be significantly higher than this.
probably lower. Especially if we end up doing the Rich's option with using some of our materials.
So part of the analysis in the last project was, the police station, I believe, was the, if we cut back costs of 30% and still get 90% of the benefits, is that something you've already done or plan to do on this project, or, I guess you weren't the borough administrator.
I wasn't.
So it's not a fair question.
Yeah, so a lot of what I'm doing now is a lot of correcting, some of the issues that we've run through with the project. So a lot of what was planned out before and some of the issues, like, for example, this is an issue we ran into that was planned out before. So that's a tough question to answer. You know, are we gonna try to do, again, we're gonna try to do the best for the borough's first cost, I mean. For example, I mean, I could have very easily asked for a purchase order for $9,800 to do a landscape plan, and I was able to get 7,000 knocked off, but so.
Yeah.
So cost consideration is always a top priority, if that helps you, right?
Yes, it is.
How many trees did we take down again over there?
Well, that was just the second wave of removals. There was a initial wave of removals that was substantial, in fact, more than 9.
You talking about years ago?
No, as in preparation.
Yeah.
So they all
For
came
the
down at
construction.
once, but as was rolled on 2 separate reports.
Rich, do you have that number
The
about how
initial
many trees?
report from Shari
Yeah,
identified.
I think it was about
several
10 sort of,
removals.
or.
probably roughly around that, 10, 12.
And then the second report, which came much later, was then the 9 big ones.
So we're getting like not 3 times, at least 2 times the number of trees.
Probably, yes, roughly.
I don't have a problem with the more trees. I think it's the topsoil number that's just destroying this, you know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It seems like an overkill number, just in my opinion. I guess that's what landscaping costs, but seems like a lot of money to.
It's more than the trees, basically.
Yeah, and again, we're using a lot of our own materials, and again. Working with Hall would be run the prices out, we're using a lot of our own materials, that's gonna significantly, you know. Change the price of what that material is going to be.
So Hall would be doing this work.
Yeah.
So it doesn't go out to bid.
That does be part of the, because this was already
There'll be a
existing,
change order, right?
this isn't it's a change or it's an enhancement to an existing landscape plan that was there.
But they hire a landscaper to actually.
Remember, they would hire it through there, but it would go through Hall.
We pay a big to Hall
It's
to do it.
in a way,
Would we not be better off doing a side project and doing landscape and not paying a big to someone?
We've already put it in the plan.
yeah, it's already been part of it, yeah.
It's just a portion of the landscaping. Landscaping swings around the entire perimeter of the site, basically from the recycling yard down Allen. Then we've got an expansive landscape plan along Third, and then it meanders back into this amended plan. So the change order will just handle the additional plantings that they show.
When would we find out what that actual fee would be? If we say go ahead and do it, then they would come back to us with the
I think the
actual
next step would
numbers?
be, we have our weekly meeting.
Yep, so well, I wouldn't find out this Thursday, because it's Thanksgiving, maybe next Thursday.
So
Might be by next Thursday's, facilities meeting,
And it will also include the increase in the fence site.
Mhm.
correct?
a quick Google search says that topsoil cost per cubic yard is $10 to $50 per cubic yard, and this has 200, so I wonder if there's a decimal problem. Could be 20.
Could be, or they could have overstated it too,
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Well, that's my concern.
yeah, but again, this is not what we, this is not what we be paying, so again.
Right.
You just
Well, I just don't want us to celebrate it went from 90,000 to 80,000 if it should really be 40,000. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, but this, again, this quote would have no bearing on what Hall's pricing would be, they wouldn't base it on this. Yeah, this was just a guiding document that we asked Colliers to put together, so we could have some information for the GB.
Right, like you just wanted to itemize exactly what would be planted, so we
Correct.
can visualize that.
Would we see this again then? It would come back to us
Yeah.
and we would.
Yes.
sign it?
Well, it'll come back, and it will come back in the form of a change order.
Yeah.
This was, I know Councilman LaBarbera and Councilwoman Koch and Mr. York and I, having been on site multiple times, this particular issue, it was our hope and intention really to, not sure we're still gonna be able to do this, but to get some, at least an initial set of plantings in there this year, knowing that this is a good time to plant and that window is closing, of course, as we speak, but regardless of execution, it's something that is extremely distressing to the neighborhood, so our commitment to making sure that that gets remedied, I think is the key thing that particularly our lead staff has done such a good job of getting this to our to us today. Hopefully we'll still have a chance to get something in the ground, but the weather will probably dictate that. And Mr. Hall will be able to generate it.
Yeah, we go
An
through Hall,
estimate, okay.
we go through Hall and on the ground.
One more, but I don't know if the right person in the room is to ask this question, but I see birch here. I love birch. I think it's the most beautiful tree out there, but I was also under the impression that birch didn't do very well in New Jersey. That it was a little bit prone to disease. The weather wasn't as cold as it needed to be for it to thrive. Is that correct?
No, I've heard.
No, not correct,
If that's-
wrong on that?
I would just say there's many kinds of bridge.
That's true.
So this isn't the one,
And we plan river bridges.
okay.
And again, you know, going back to your question, I'm not a tree expert, so I can't give you an answer one way or the other. But that's why we had the plan run through Shari Spear, our certified tree expert, to determine whatever the survivability rate and be able to sustain it.
Okay.
So she has reviewed it, she signed off on it prior to anything going to the governing body. And she did make some changes and corrections to it as well, so.
What
it's
do you
not
need
as
from
bad.
us tonight?
For tonight,
Yeah, just a discussion is adequate, or do you need anything else?
No, you're gonna discuss it at the facility.
and then what will happen, we'll have a change order written up and it'll come at the December 16th meeting.
Yeah,
And then, because again, it's over $5,000, governing body has to approve it.
okay.
All right.
Yeah,
Thank you, brush and leaf ordinance.
Sure, that actually asked me to provide those updates.
Perfect.
Helpful. So brush and leaf ordinance amendment, as everyone will recall, the proposed updates that we are proposing tonight really stem from feedback that we received, brush and leaf committee received about the ordinance in its first, call it, few months of inception. So we're talking about the period between March and June. Brush and leaf committee met a couple of times to review that feedback and put forth recommendations. We did workshop this as a council a couple of meetings ago. I think it was like early October. So we wanted to circle back and propose and base some recommendations based on that feedback. So there's really 6 aspects of the brush and leaf document that we wanted to review. The first being the fact that effective immediately, we want to recommend the following updates. So the first being that the spring cleanup schedule, we're going to add 2 extra weeks, 1 at the beginning and 1 at the end. So there's essentially a buffer on that schedule, which creates an elongated period of time for that spring cleanup. Looking at the ordinance itself, you'll notice in the definition section, which is 16-5.3, we have basically revised the definition of brush excuse me, we've revised the definition of the word brush to provide, greater clarity. So I think there was some confusion as to what brush actually meant. Section 16-5.6, section B, numeral V or 5. We removed the limit on the number of borough approved brush cans that can be used for pickup. So now there's a limited amount.
Can I ask a question about that one specifically? Does this add any cost to the borough? Like, because we're now picking up more?
That one clause, you mean,
Yes.
that they could have unlimited cans?
I
It's
don't know.
borough staff that does it, it's just not a contract, right?
so it's our first step that does it.
So
Yeah.
it's be more,
It's just more work for them, but not necessarily.
More cans to lift than.
yeah,
for-
not a contract.
Okay.
Good question.
You also made a change to, what is
I'm
that?
not done yet. Insurance.
Before that one,
Oh, the 12, I highlighted that,
Wait, what?
no earlier than 12 days. Why did we change that?
We didn't hi- oh, you know
Sorry,
what?
16.5.6,
Yes.
number 3,
A3.
A3.
Drew would be double clicking right now.
It just says, it was 10 days prior and it's 12, I just was wondering.
Oh,
It
okay.
seemed arbitrary, but there must be some.
Yeah, let me circle back on that. I actually don't.
I know they went for 10 to include 2 weekends. That was why they chose 10, because some
Yeah.
people said they didn't have enough time on a particular weekend.
Got it. I
So
guess
they
12
moved
just
it to
gives them
10.
extra days. Yeah, okay.
I can circle back. I don't know.
Okay. I noticed,
Okay, so sorry, 4 more changes. 16-5.6, section C, number 4. We're gonna be very clear in stating that the leaf collection is limited to leaves only. Any other materials that are left in the leaf piles or placed in the leaf piles will be left behind.
Can I
So,
ask a question about that? So I've found it interesting that pumpkins have typically been allowed,
Mhm.
which has always been confusing to me,
Yeah.
but now they're not.
no, they're not.
Okay, I think that's good.
Yeah.
It's only to see.
Yeah.
I know
They
that
will
the
be
green
left.
team has talked about
Yeah.
doing some kind of pickups as a group, or, because there are places that will take them, so that's something to consider maybe next year, what we're gonna do with pumpkins and that kind of stuff.
Right, so leaves only going forward, anything else will be left
Yeah.
behind.
And does that have to do with who we take it to?
Yes, because they all go to a farm. Well, the first they get, I found this all fascinating. I think it should be sidebar conversation in the schools, because it's so interesting. But yeah, but the leaves get crushed down to small particles, they get driven up to Colts Neck, they're used to basically fertilize an entire farm, so we don't want to be taking other material out there.
Topsoil?
Oh, I was actually thinking that.
Future topsoil.
Future topsoil. And the last two changes,
So what happens? People, they'll just leave them, someone else may, they'll have to pick them up, I guess, themselves, the residents.
well, they would pick up the leaves, but they wouldn't pick up.
I'm saying the
material.
residents, it'll be sitting out there and then
Yeah.
eventually,
It'll look like
hopefully they'll.
non-compliant residents.
So, in that particular change,
Mhm.
it says residents are responsible for removal and disposal. Is there a time associated with that? I mean, can they leave them like out there for 4 months before they remove them? It seems to me that, you know.
Probably should be-
Wait,
Should-
you're
time
saying
frame.
the materials other than the leaves?
Yes.
Well, if they're out there, then they're non-compliant, right?
Right.
Yeah,
Well,
but
never
what's the
Right.
time limit? I mean,
I mean, I guess that would be up to code enforcement if they saw a bunch of pumpkins lying around, right? Like at a certain point.
Well, you're talking about in November and December?
I'm talking about any time.
So, no, but this is, so leaves only pickup
Right.
is for November and December, so that's all that is. Because any other time there is not leaves only, other times is brush and leaves.
Correct.
So that leaves just November and December, so if you have anything out that's not leaves in November or December, you're in violation.
It's
But
under a
they're-
10-day cure in the amending ordinance at the beginning of the year.
But there are also leaf only pickups.
The original one that
in the
was
spring and fall. There's two separate files,
That's
brush and leaf file.
That's this
leaf
one.
only in the other file.
So, but it's, that's a fall cleanup that encompasses
Right.
both, it's not a leaves only pickup.
Yeah, there is a 10-day notice for cure.
So in the spring, there won't be many leaves, it's fall, because things fall off the tree.
Right.
So fall, November, December will just be leaves, and the
Leaves
spring will be
only.
all kinds of stuff,
Correct.
Did we write it?
more than just leaves.
Did we do any communication? I didn't notice that about pumpkins specifically.
We've done it in the past,
I
but you
know,
see
but I
it
don't
this
think
year.
we did it this time. Maybe
No.
that's just worth an email, like something.
So the question is, what are people putting out?
Leaves, just leaves.
No,
Oh,
I understand what this says, but
Right.
what, you know, at the end of the day, it's a service. So what are people putting out that wouldn't be collected?
Hay bale.
Vegetative
Exactly.
waste.
I've seen a lot of burns, like
Yes.
people would have
Yes.
burns on their porch.
Yes.
And then it gets cold, so they just
Mums,
throw them in the
mums.
leaf pile.
There's
Mums.
those
You get a whole bunch of mums.
Changeover.
Right.
Even those like stalks that people had.
Corn stalks.
Corn stalks.
I guess I'm framing my question this way to understand, what is it that is, which aspect of this service are we not providing? Because, there might not be an option, I don't actually know if you had a whole bunch of hay bales and a bunch of brush, but it's only leaf pickup in November and December, rolling leaf pickup, I think everybody's gonna love. But what about the stuff that isn't leaf, and I'm not asking us to solve this right now, I can go back to the brush and leaf committee, but there's an awful lot of stuff that people put out. And it doesn't matter just being non-compliant, but what are their options? And that could be through education but we should know. What in fact are they not gonna have a service to collect that stuff?
Right.
And I know pumpkins, of course, and there's a lot of stuff that's more brushy.
Well, yeah, I hear what you're saying.
Yeah.
I can
Just
answer
wanna
some of
know.
those one by one, like pumpkins, they can go in the garbage, you can compost them. You know, they're-
Yeah.
We have to be careful composting, because in seeds, I mean, it will grow, could eventually grow.
Yeah.
There's farms that have pigs who
Yeah.
eat pumpkins.
Easier to pumpkins, we don't want them out.
Yeah.
All right, I guess we're still learning as we go.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Let me just cover the last two. So under non-compliance, which is section 16-5.12. Two things to note. The first is that non-compliant piles will now be marked with spray paint by borough personnel to signify their non-compliance. If you're not complying, you have a pile out there, the borough is going to signify it with spray paint.
Like an X.
I don't love that one, but
I know, I'm with you,
guys.
so I'm on the fence about this spray, I'm willing to try it for sure, I'm not sure how I feel about it.
What is it? Is it
Like an X.
An
They
X,
make
yeah,
like
like
an
a
X
red
right
X.
there.
It feels a little bit like, you know.
Scarlet letter.
I think the Scarlet X here, yeah.
This is some heavy duty.
And the second is
I
that
will tell you though, if you see your neighbor's pile with an X on it, you're not doing it.
it does, yeah, I think it'll be effective, right? I mean, it's not gonna be pretty, but it'll be effective. And hopefully we'll have less X's over time. And then the second is that warning for violations for any of this will be assigned to the property as a whole, not to individual file. So those are the updates for now. We do want to circle back in a couple of things in early 2025 to encompass any feedback that we got post-June. So that will take into account things like the can or the color of the can and any feedback associated with rolling pickup that we're that's happening right now.
Can I ask Attorney Stovall a question? 16.5.12B. Wall warnings shall reset on January 1st of each calendar year.
16 point.
Non-compliance warning,
Warnings.
Wait, non-compliance warning.
Non-compliance warning, second one, B.
B.
For violations are assigned to the
Wall
property.
warnings shall reset on January 1st of each calendar year. I'm assuming you mean the step chart of each warning.
Right.
Resets.
So like the violations,
But they don't get out of their violations if they're current. When it's January 1st, right? It's not like, oh, well, you know, we didn't go to court yet, but it resets, it's January 1st.
no.
It's
any-
grandfathered into when,
Right.
when the
If-
summons
if a
is
violation-
written.
Yes.
Okay.
That
You
would
still have to
continue.
pay,
Yes.
that maybe should be clear here? No.
Can I step in real quick?
Oh, so they weren't gonna pay anyway.
Right,
Okay.
it wouldn't be the summons, it would just be the
Got it.
warning itself.
So they still.
Excuse me. For a follow-up question to that, so now you're changing it to be assigned to the property, so someone gets a warning or a summons in May, and then they sell their property to someone else. And that new person comes in October and gets their first violation as a new homeowner. And we're signing the violations by the property, not by the person. So you're inheriting
Is it
the
property owner?
behavior
Yeah.
Use
of the
with word
person that was
owner.
before you. Now, I understand what we're trying to achieve here,
So-
but there's another way to do it.
So all real estate contracts, do a bunch of that as well, will call, attention in the seller's disclosure. Do you know of any sort of governmental or governmental warning violation that, is assigned to the property?
And it's just, it's on them at that point, we're relieved of
Absolutely.
that, and they're still
The sellers have
responsible.
to, yeah, that'd be a
They have
seller's.
to figure it out on their own together.
Yes.
Okay. Anyone else? Anyone else? Okay, thank you to Councilman LaBarbera for pulling that lever. Councilman Hoey, thank you for that presentation, that was fantastic. We're gonna continue moving along here to the 2025 brush and leaf schedule. You doing that also?
I don't think so. Oh, I mean, I think really what we're saying is that.
Yes, it's about the calendar.
Calendar.
We would, so just from last year, if you remember, we printed a calendar
Right.
before we had the opportunity to really finalize this.
Right.
We don't want to be in that situation again.
Right.
So we wanted to approve,
Right.
the
updates.
the updates on the calendar for next year unless someone had objections to what was being presented here.
Right.
So, as I follow, just to clarify, we're moving up the beginning of the spring cleanup by 2 weeks.
No, one, and then one week at the front and one week at the back.
That's good. I, from all the feedback I got, people need that extra
Yeah.
week,
Yeah.
so.
I like the visual of the recycling image, which drops off in May. Like, well, I don't know if this is probably just a draft, but having. that-
Keep it going every time.
I do that every time.
Okay.
I think that's
Chris,
good.
can we provide that feedback to?
Yep.
Is that Betty Ann? then?
That's Betty Ann, yeah.
I will make a plug for Recycle Coach.
Yeah,
A lot of people have been using it and it's been gaining in popularity. I know it took a while for us to get up and running, but it does have our updated calendar and it'll have it for next.
I
year.
agree with you. I honestly find it so handy and convenient. It's easy to download and it's accurate.
It's accurate.
Yeah.
Can we go one step further? I agree with what you said. I would actually add a garbage can for the trash days. I would add some sort of brush and leaf, and then in November, December, just leaves.
I think that's the plan, but
The pictures, yeah.
for the sake of our meeting,
Yeah, they wanted to get to the question.
Yeah, good.
Yeah, it was good.
All right, we good on that, everyone? Good on that? All right. We are now at the public comment on agenda items only. Please observe a 3-minute time limit. Please state your name and address for the record. Anyone with a public comment on agenda items only? No? Allison?
I have Mrs. Blazer.
Hi, Ruth. Ruth, you there?
I didn't raise my hand.
Well, we want to talk to you anyway. We just
Oh,
want to
we'll
settle up.
All right, I'll just make a comment then off the top of my head, but I believe a seller's disclosure statement already takes care of any outstanding improvements, permits, whatever, that it would be outstanding on a property before it closes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ruth. Okay. Anyone else?
That's all.
Good. We're gonna move on to approval of minutes. We're talking about the November 12th, 2024 regular meeting. Do I have a motion to approve?
second,
Allison, may I please have a roll call?
Paul,
Yes.
Miss Sally,
Yes.
Howie. Yes. Scott,
yes.
Elsa.
Yes.
Okay, anyone have any old business? No, we're gonna move along to new business, the consent agenda. We're talking resolutions 2024-260 through 270. Is that correct, Allison?
You're correct, and 269, I sent you an amended.
Yep.
We had a list and it's in.
Okay, so 263 through 270. Does anyone have anything they want to separate before
I don't want to separate. I
you
just
have a
have
comment on
question.
something? Sure.
Yeah, question.
Yep.
Under 270, approve the change order bollard installation. I don't know what that means.
So it was I believe it was an $11,000 and change work order, change order.
Yeah, Rich can explain about the bollards, the design of them.
So, as you know, the front facade of the building has siding and then there's a stone veneer at the base. The original plan showed an angle iron at the corner of the garage doors rather than a bollard. Once the contractor installed everything, as you see it now, everything's already in, the siding and the facade. It can't fit the way the architect designed it, the angle iron. So the solution would have been to do a bollard. So we picked a 4-inch, smaller type bollard with a vinyl cover, most likely yellow, so high visibility. There's 12 that are shown on the change order. They would be shown at the corners of the garage bay opening. With the garage being open, they're also trimmed out in that AZAC material, that you can see below, which could be susceptible to damage if it's brushed up against or hit. So this is the solution the team came up with, and unfortunately, there is an added cost for that. They did give us a credit back to the angle iron. That should be worth it.
So it's 11,000 minus the
I
refund?
think it's 11 currently.
Correct.
Which is, I think they gave us like a $3,800 credit or something along those lines.
Sure.
So it's been close to 15.
So 11.
We had-
11 is the
this-
balance.
We had preferred the angle iron because it's less obstruction. Bollards tend to get hit, bent over time, things like that. But looking at it, this is the only choice we really have.
And the purpose of the bollards is to prevent
The building from being hit.
Vehicles.
vehicles hitting the
Large
sides of
trucks.
the
you know,
entrances.
landscape trucks, any of the equipment we have, we put in the bays, pickups, et cetera. There's
to what Red Bank puts in and, when they have broad walk.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And-
those go up and
Yeah,
down.
and considering most, trucks are backing in all the time, most of your accidents happen during backing, so it's to prevent damage to the building.
Okay.
What colors will they be? Like, are they all yellow?
Well, so it's typically a metal pole filled with concrete.
Mhm.
It's 4 feet out of the ground, then it's set down in the foundation, and then they make different, usually it's a safety type color.
Yeah.
So normally you see either yellow or red.
That didn't work so well for Red Bank.
What's that?
It didn't work so well for Red Bank.
Oh, I don't know that.
Oh, it's been hit like multiple times. People.
But they stand up.
Yeah, that's true.
We currently have yellow on the ground, the fuel pumps that are there, and
Mhm.
then we have 2 of these generators. And they've held up for forever, so
Cool.
they do work. We're leaning towards yellow.
Anything else on consent agenda?
I just wanted just a quick question on the improvements being made to Borough Hall, which certainly need to be made. I'm in full support. I just wanted to call out, I guess, ask specifically if these improvements will also apply to the library.
No, not at this time. And the reason being, again, library improvements have to go before the governing body. The reason we did not include it this time around is because, this does not involve any flooring. So for the library to get improvements, what we had discussed was,
Right.
you wanna mobilize everything out at one time. So next to this building, and I had a conversation with Rich about today, will be replacing the Borough Hall roof. Library needs new drop ceiling tiles, needs new flooring, because that was not included in the flooring last time around, and then painting, so the key would be to do all of that at one time, again, with governing body approval.
And we couldn't do the ceiling, the lighting in the ceiling at the same time as the roof for the entire structure?
You could put a new drop ceiling in, again, when we do the roof, that could happen, but as far as painting and flooring, you have to mobilize all that material out of there,
Painting,
so.
flooring, I understand.
yes.
Okay.
But again, that's obviously up to
But
governing
to do
body
the roof,
approval
you
for
wouldn't
this.
have to?
Well,
You wouldn't have to take
just a
everything
drop-
out?
Just
Yeah.
a drop ceiling.
Right, gotcha.
I'm gonna make a statement that no one's gonna agree with. I think we can start thinking of ways to get creative. When we're paying for interior painting of Borough Hall, and I mean this, it might be nice to somehow work with the high school and have them teach kids how to paint. And the reason I'm saying that is I wish I knew how to paint my own house and, do some things, and we have an opportunity here that we don't have to have the perfect paint job inside Borough Hall. It might save dollars. So I know no one agrees with that, but I'm just voicing my opinion to look
I
for
think the mayor just
ideas.
volunteered to paint Borough Hall.
Honestly, I would
Yes,
love to
proper
come here with a bunch of students
So
and not only learn myself, but show them what I do know and do stuff like that. I think it's a life skill that they would take that with them for a really long time. And I was thinking about it before with the topsoil, that we could probably get together with RFH. I'm sure there's some sort of teaching curriculum they could do with leaves where they could provide us with some topsoil over the course of a bunch of weeks and teach them how to create that for us from a learning type situation for them, and obviously a cost savings for us. So I get it. That's not what we're doing here. I just want to bring it up as we're thinking forward. We should be looking for opportunities like that.
I do have a question along those lines. CertaPro, that's a national organization, right?
You'd rather have
So-
someone local?
Well, that was my question. Why do we go to CertaPro when we have a lot of local painters that we could give the business to?
So I can answer part of that.
Sure.
So I don't know this or those specifically, because Rich did get those proposed. But some of them are like they're franchises, so they are more locally owned. So they'll also be able to meet all the requirements for the paperwork that the state requires, where a local painter may not.
Okay.
Like all the reporting, all
Locally
that
owned?
that the state requires.
So the CertaPro?
Yes.
Sounds
So,
right.
as much as we would like to do something local, we still need to meet all the.
Okay, it was just I was
Yes,
just
no,
curious.
just,
Yeah.
Good question.
And it's prevailing rate.
yeah,
That's the other thing.
yeah, prevailing rate, and they don't know,
I was just gonna call out the fact that, our new borough administrator has done an amazing job of trying to identify opportunities for efficiency and
Yes.
collaboration with the schools. So your point's well taken on soil and painting. I feel like it's always top of mind for borough administrative work, so
Yep, thank you.
thank you.
Done a great job on that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Really,
Good job.
that is
Thank you.
true.
New York Jets should take a lesson. All right, anything else here before I ask for a motion? So a motion approved.
So moved.
Second.
Allison, may I please have a roll call?
Councilmembers Paul,
Yes.
Sally,
Yes.
Helen,
Yes.
Scott,
Yes,
Olson.
Yes.
Thank you. Department reports, October 2024. Do I have a motion to accept the reports with a thank you?
We can ask a
Motion.
question.
Wait, hold
I
on,
have
we got a question.
I'm sorry. I'm just wondering in the court, what happened in July and August? Like why, or is it so much more expensive? Like how much, you said a ton of revenue.
Oh, I think it's just when they bill. I remember asking Nancy this
Yep.
question last year.
Yep.
Just July and August, it's like 7,000, 7,800 versus like the other months are like 3,000 and 4,000. Just out of curiosity, what
What are we looking at?
the court, sorry, the municipal court revenue.
municipal court revenue.
The revenue, I mean, that's just.
Code
violation. It depends on.
Something.
Or guilty pleas. No,
No, no,
it's-
it's for billing.
Okay, it's, I mean, it's a substantial.
More people in the area.
Oh, that's true, maybe somewhere, okay.
Well, no, those would be mostly violations from the winter.
Yeah, that's true, yeah.
Okay.
I think Attorney Stoll had a few Brush and leaf violations.
Can't wait till you put it
Alright, sorry, so yes, you can go ahead.
Now, let's get back to the moment. Do I have a motion to accept the reports as submitted with a thank you?
I'd like to motion with a thank you that we accept the October 2024 report.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Thank you. Moving along, go to the borough. Please stand and identify yourself by clearly stating your name and address for the record. Please observe a time limit of 3 minutes. Is there anyone with a good of the borough? Sure, Carolyn.
Hi, Carolyn Ferguson, 720 Court, I'm the chair of the Natural Area Committee, and hopefully here to share some good news. I just want to let everyone know that we had our volunteer weekend this weekend. We had 50 volunteers each day, like the turnout was amazing. We worked in 2 separate areas, and there was a lot of people that did some really hard work, including like digging railroad ties out of that creek. We took advantage of the fact that there's been a drought, and we were able to get some stuff out of the creek that we've never had access to before, and same thing for the pond. So there was really amazing progress made. We appreciate the DPW coming out to work with us. And I think it was a really good collaboration. They gave us a project that they needed done, that they couldn't really do. They needed more hands. So there's an outlet pipe that connects the creek and the pond. And the stormwater comes in from Buttonwood into the creek. We see tons of sand that comes in with it. And the DPW asked that we dig the sand out from around the outlet pipe. And some very strong and energetic people did that. So really, we thank everyone who joined us. And like I said, it was a big success and a lot got done. And like I said, we worked in 2 separate areas, so we really covered a lot of ground. And people of all ages turned out, which was super nice. They had sandwiches. It's always a very friendly and fun atmosphere. Brian and his daughter were there. We appreciate that. So thank you to everybody in the town and to the DPW for that. Also, I want to let you know that the Natural Area Committee, we got to see the Fairhaven Road Phase 2 plans they were given to us in October. So at our November meeting, we reviewed them. And the committee has made a recommendation that the proposed stone dust path under the cherry trees, that they consider making that a wood chip trail. There's a few reasons for that. We have a concern that at some point the cherry tree lane, we think is gonna need some maintenance or a plan to be maintained. We think that's probably gonna mean moving the fence back into the natural area a little, changing the trees that are on the edge of that so that the cherry trees have room to grow and thrive and get sun. And maybe that we would have the ability to put some extra young cherry trees in there. So one of the thoughts on there's a few thoughts on the wood trail. One is that we do have concern, we've talked about those cherry trees are beyond their expected end of life. And that maybe putting a stone dust trail on top of their roots may not be the greatest. If we put a wood chip trail actually wood chips feed what's underneath it, so it's an organic material. So we thought that was a good idea. We also think that if we anticipate some change happening in that area, that it will be ultimately easier to remove a wood chip trail or to move a wood chip trail than it might be to move a stone dust trail. And then as also as stormwater comes into the natural area, which is what's desired, we'd rather have it bringing wood chips in with it than stone dust into the area. And then the last thing is that that trail really could be perceived to be part of the trail system that exists in the natural area. So the idea that we would use the same material and make the trail on the outside look a lot like the trail that's really only about 15 feet inside, might be a nice idea. So we've shared our recommendation and,
So there's an email with this details, so, okay.
and to,
Have you seen it, Rich? Like, do you have an email or?
Yeah.
Got an email next week.
yeah, after our meeting, right?
And any serious concerns, not expected you to make it, you know,
Yeah.
We're to look at it, the benefit is the trail is not an NJDOT eligible pay item, so whether we use stone dust,
doesn't matter.
which is, it's not gonna impact our grant.
Can I ask a question? Is that, forgive me, I'm not remembering the plans, but is that the only path for kids to be on their bikes though?
It would take you from the crosswalk at
Buttonwood, right.
But there's no sidewalk.
I think
Alternate
it's like-
sidewalk.
Why would anyone,
No,
There's
there's,
a.
why
I
would
know
they
what
be
you're
on their
talking
bike on that side of the
So-
street?
because there's no sidewalk on the other side, correct?
We're putting in a sidewalk.
There will be a sidewalk.
Yeah.
So there is an
Oh,
option.
you know what? There's no sidewalk though from Buttonwood to
Yeah,
Ridge.
that's.
So if someone were riding their bike on Ridge, conceivably, they
Yeah.
could get on their bike from Ridge until Buttonwood before they come
Yes.
over the sidewalk. I
So
see.
my only concern would be kids riding bikes.
And I don't.
Also, the stone dust trail is not gonna go, it ends up Buttonwood also.
You know
Wow.
what, Michael, if there's no sidewalk on Ridge though, then the person's already riding their bike on the main road. I don't think they necessitate being on a sidewalk on their bike from Ridge to Buttonwood.
It's actually, it's gonna be striped for either a bike lane or Shara, so there's, it's been accounted for.
Okay, that would be my only concern is, yeah, it's on bike.
And then just one last thought, we had was that, we believe the borough gets wood chips for free. And probably pays for stone dust, so.
We like free.
Yes.
There's your creative.
Yeah. And we can have some kids chop up the wood, no?
We're doing chainsaws. We're like Yellowstone.
Any questions or comments on it?
Thank
Now, I do have one question on what you said. You said you had about 50 volunteers. Is that typical?
Each day.
Each day. So is that versus other days? Is that more? And do you attribute any of it to the nixles we sent out, or is it just you had a good turnout, like, because of the weather? What is there?
Yeah, it was probably double what we usually get, and the borough has helped us out in the past with the promotions. We did have the same question, why do we do so well? I think one of the things is it was probably a good choice of date. Like sports has ended and the holidays haven't hit,
Yeah.
so it's possible that, like, we don't know exactly, but we certainly do appreciate that.
There were some
the
groups I
borough
know
gives us.
there who were getting some hours too, some community service.
Always,
hours,
yeah,
so-
we have cards that we give
Yeah.
them for their volunteer hours.
It was very well organized.
Yeah.
I also thought the nixle, when I got it that morning, it said like volunteer, I forgot the exact dates, November 16th and 17th. I thought it should have said,
Today.
looking for something to do today, but you know, it's like,
Yeah.
this is
Yeah, I
for
think it said
today.
that, the link, I think when you clicked on the link, that's what said looking for something to do today.
I think the link itself, right there, when
You
it
can do
pops
that.
up on your phone, should be advertising today. We got something. Oh,
That's certainly easy to do.
okay. Thank you,
Thank you.
Carolyn. Yep, thank you. And please thank the entire committee as
I
well.
will.
Yep.
I have a good of the borough, that's
Sure.
okay, because Carolyn just made me think of it. The shop small is this Saturday, so just a reminder to everyone that the trolley is it 11 to 4?
Yeah.
So please shop local, and some of us will be on the trolley.
Anyone else for the good of the borough? Allison?
Mrs. Blazer has her hand up. Oh, I have a good row too.
Well, we called her in and we'll come right back to you.
I don't know if she meant to, though, we don't.
Ruth, did you raise your hand?
Yeah, I did. I just want to updates on projects that are going on, such as how are we doing? Is there any ETA on the streetlights?
Nothing.
We got an ATA, it's not what everybody wants to hear. It being delivered to the contractor or to the job site, I'm not sure where, January 14th.
January 14th, Ruth, if you didn't hear.
Whoa. Okay, secondly, now that the leaves are off the trees and you can see what you're working with, is there any possibility of DPW going over there and hacking off the branches that are hanging into Schwenker's Pond to just sort of tidy up the shoreline?
We haven't discussed that internally, but we can certainly discuss it and, you know, perhaps by the next meeting, we could give you an update if you ask the same question.
Okay, and I'd like to give a shout out to all the lovely parents in Fairhaven who supported their kids who signed up for the snow shoveling, the senior snow shoveling program. We are just absolutely delighted with those kids.
And you call that be a good neighbor, is that correct?
Yes, that's
Ruth,
us.
Thank you to you for all you do to run that program.
Well, it's Rachel Griffin too. She's a great lady.
And Rachel as well.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Ruth.
Sorry, last thing I just
Councilwoman
want to know
Cohen?
is that we're aiming for Sunday installation of the holiday decorations.
Yes.
All right, that is
Just announced
exciting.
Yeah.
All right, Allison?
And I just want to thank the governing body for your kindness. I lost my mother-in-law. I do appreciate it.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you. Sorry.
All right, we are now going to move towards executive session. I don't believe any formal action will be taken. Is that accurate? That's correct. No formal action will be taken. It's 8:24 PM. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
All in favor? Anyone opposed? All right.
Nope.
I make a
All right.
motion that we open the meeting. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? We have a motion to close the meeting at 9:10 PM.
Motion to adjourn. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Good night, Barry.
Yeah.
Mayor, you coming over?
Not sure yet.
Advice.
All right, well, I hope you